Hello, my name is Jonathan Gray. I am a third-year student studying at the University of the West Indies. I am part of the group MangoTTech, which consists of three other members, Toni-Marie Noel, Andrei Guevara, and Melika O'Garro. Today we're going to be talking about the FileFixer program, but before we do that, I want to go through the scope of this project. So we want to take a file that is in one convention, convention 1, which is obtained from the My Learning platform, and convert it to another convention, convention 2. The problem with convention 1 is that My Learning no longer supports this convention, and so it needs to be converted from that convention into convention 2, which is where this program, FileFixer, comes in. To illustrate how our program use its test suite to test the functionality of our program, I'm going to go into FileFixer, Source, and then Test. And you'll see here that we have two classes, submissions test and setup test. In setup test, this is basically just an abstract class that is used to set up our environment for testing. So you'll see we have a bunch of different attributes here that are then instantiated inside of the run setup test. We use this before all to let Java know that we would like this method to be run before any other method is run in the test while testing. So this method will always run before any other method is ran. And if we go to our submissions test, we see that submissions extends the setup test class, which means that it inherits all of these goodies, all of these methods, all of these attributes from setup test so that it can be used for free in the submission test class. So this means that we don't need to set up any or to recreate those attributes. No redundancies are being made here. In setup test, we have a bunch of attributes like we mentioned. However, we want to pay close attention to the root and num files renamed, as well as students. Here we call the initialize files to rename, which does all the initialization and sets up our environment. And then specifically in students now, it calls root.readCSV, and this just returns an array list of students to our students array list here so that we can use it. And num files renamed holds an integer, and this integer is the number of files that were actually renamed. So this variable is going to be very important for our tests. Let's go back to submissions test. Here, in all valid submissions test, which is the first method we're going to run, we see that we have instantiated an integer which just holds the value 49. And it's 49 because 49 is the number of students that are expected to be renamed after the submissions. Here we call root to create did not submit. And this method basically just creates a file, or you can see it here, called did not submit in the files to rename folder. Lastly, our assert equals just checks to see if the expected, which is the number of students that are expected to be renamed, is equal to the number of students that were actually renamed. Now let's run this test. First, I clear my files to rename folder. We don't need these things here. And you'll actually see that it repopulates with those very things. Now, I place sample3 case I into here. Great, sample3 case I is in here. Now, to run the test, we go to Beaker. We look for the submissions test class, which is this. We look for the test that we want to run, which is the all valid submissions test. We click play or run. It's currently running. Great, and we see it runs. That means this test passed. But let's also do it so that the test fails. I'm going to place a sample version that does not meet this criteria. In other words, 49 students will not be renamed. So I'm going to place a sample. I'm going to delete this stuff, and place a new sample in there. Okay, here we go. We place sample 3 case 4 into this folder. Now let's rerun the test and see what happens. Submissions test, all valid submissions test. We click run. It's currently running. And we see the test fails. Why did it fail? Because the expected was that 49 student or PDFs would be renamed, while in actuality only 30 were renamed. So that means that 19 were not renamed. And we could run this similar test with all the other test methods inside submission tests. We could run it with no PDFs, some invalid submissions lists, and all invalid flag submissions. In order for these tests to pass for each one, you have to make sure you put the correct sample inside FileFixer rename. Now let's run the program in a normal setting from main to see what the different types of outputs are for students who uploaded in different fashions. There we go. Now we can go to FileFixer, which contains the main class as we see here, and we can just run to see our output. There we go. The program is running. Please wait. And you can actually tell that it's running because it's kind of twitching over here. Right now, renamed assignments is being populated specifically for sample 1, since the PDF file names in that would have been from convention 2, so the program knows to convert it. Oh, sorry, it would have been in convention 1, so the program knows to convert it to convention 2 automatically. You'd also see, specifically for those samples, it would have created another folder here with all the PDFs that were inside of the CSV. And you also see the CSV here. This CSV, by the way, is very important. This is how the program reads in the student data. So it takes all of this and it knows the students based on the CSV. That's where the 49 students are accounted for, because there are, since you see 50 here, but in actuality it's 49 students because there's a header. Cool. So let's check out the did not submit. Specifically for this one, there are no student didn't submit, so this file is empty. And in rename assignments, we would have 49 students in here who were renamed. So that's use case 1. And for students, let's run one with students, one sample in which students did not submit. There we go. I'm going to run the program in FileFixer. Let's just exit this. There we go, she's running. And you see she's populating over here. Or not yet, I guess. Oh wait, it already finished. Okay, this sample was the one where there's just a CSV, so there's nothing to rename, so it finishes quickly. Alright, let's take sample 3. I said sample 3, but I actually meant sample 4. So let's run this. FileFixer and rerun. There we go, it's running. You know it's not finished because it doesn't say the program has finished actually. Okay, now it's finished. So now for students who did not submit use case 2, we can see these 19 students who have not submitted. Cool, let's check out use case 3. Okay, over here you'll see that I replaced it with sample 5, case 5. So for this result, we should get in the did not submit all the students, all the flag students actually. In hindsight, we could have created a folder or a text file, which contained all the flag students. But here we go. Let's go to FileFixer. And let's run. All right, it's finished and did not submit. We can see that we have 49 students exactly. That means no one submitted and they were all flagged for not submitting. And so for what we just ran through, we can see how a lecturer would be able to use this for 3 different use cases. 1, to find all the students who did not submit. 2, to find all the students who said they submitted but uploaded the wrong file name. And 3, to see all the students who actually submitted.